folks, this is Jeff Phillips with SmokingMeat.com. Today I have some lamb ribs that we're going to be smoking up on the Camp Chef Pursuit. It's a little portable Camp Chef smoker that I got a while back and I've been wanting to use it, and today it's raining, so I've moved this one under the patio so we can be in the dry. And I'm looking real forward to showing you how I cook these up. They cook fast, they taste great, so let's get after it. So the first thing I'm going to do is slice these up right between the bones. And that's pretty easy. Make sure you have a really sharp knife. I like to turn them where the bone side is facing up and the bones are facing away from me. As you can see, these have already been Frenched really nicely from the store. They've removed the meat and the fat from the ends of the bones. It's just kind of a fancy way to prepare them. By turning them this way in this position, I can see the ends of the bones here and make sure I cut right between them. So I can see that right there is between the bones, and I can see the way the bones are running, so I want to make sure I cut right between those. And there's a little bit of cartilage right down in there. Sometimes you have to press down. And just make sure you're cutting between that. There's some gristle and cartilage right there on the bottom side, so you will have to bear down a little bit to cut. And as you can see, there's a bone there, so I'm going to get right between there and get that cut and make sure I stay parallel. And of course I got to get through that gristle on the bottom. And there's our second piece. And I'm going to go ahead and finish slicing these up off camera, and we'll be right back. We've got these all cut up. I have laid them in a pan, and I've just kind of had to play with how to place them so that I can fit as many as I can. I've actually got 4 racks here, which is about 32 ribs, and all my pieces that I cut off to reduce the thickness on that end piece, I've laid those right here. Now, like we always do when we dry brine, I'm using Morton coarse kosher salt. I like the blue box, blue bottle, and the reason I always use the same kind is because it's repeatable. I know how much to use. If you want to use a different type of salt, you can. You could use table salt, you could use pickling salt, but you may have to find a conversion chart to change up the amount. So I just feel like it's better to stick with the same type, and this is a kind that's easy to find. I don't typically measure, and especially on things like this it would be difficult. Chefs recommend 1/2 teaspoon per pound of salt when you're dry brining. Now what's going to happen, I'm just going to sprinkle salt all over the tops of this meat, and within just about 10 or 15 minutes the salt is going to start bringing juices to the surface. Those juices are going to mix with that salt. Salt's going to dissolve, and then that salty brine is going to be reabsorbed back into the meat, adding flavor, adding juiciness. It's just a good thing to do on all meat. I'm just going to sprinkle just a basic covering of salt on the top of this. This is a pretty good piece of meat here. The thickness is pretty good, so we don't have to be too chintzy with it. You can kind of see what I'm doing here. I've done several batches of these and getting ready for this video. I can tell you that these were not salty at all, doing about this kind of coverage. So that's pretty good right there. I think I didn't get quite as much on that piece right there. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm going to now place these in the fridge for about 2 hours. You could even leave them overnight if you wanted to. Whenever I get ready to throw them in the smoker, I'm going to add a little bit of my Texas rub to the top as well. We'll be right back. We just took our rack of our lamb chops right out of the fridge. They've been brining for about 2 hours. They're looking really good. Just before we add some Texas rub and get these on the smoker, I'm going to mix up a little concoction here. And also, I would like to have a little bit of a binder when I put this Texas rub on, so this works really well. So what I came up with was using some of my sauce. Now this is Jeff's original barbecue sauce. You can get this at thinbluefoods.com. You can use your own favorite barbecue sauce if you make your own, or you buy a different brand, that's fine as well. I can't speak for the other sauces. This is not overly sweet. You know, it's not overly hot either. It's just kind of a good mix. I'm going to add probably about maybe 3/4 of a cup or so. Then I've got my balsamic here. And I'm just going to add about maybe a 1/3 cup there. And I just want to give that a good stir because it's about the flavor, but it's also about thinning my sauce down. I want it to brush on real nice, but I also want it to be more like a light glaze more than a sauce. See, that's about the right consistency I'm wanting. Now I'm going to add also just a touch of A1. Now I've never been one that likes A1 sauce. Actually, I think I forgot to shake that up. I want to make sure I get... Some of these sauces you do have to shake or the ingredients will separate while they sit. I'm going to add probably about, let's see what this looks like when it comes out. It's about a tablespoon, about 2 tablespoons. I've never been one to like A1 sauce on steaks. In my opinion, if you have to have A1, steak wasn't done right. But we're not really going to get a real strong overpowering flavor from this. It's just going to be a binder for the Texas rub, and we're just going to get just a hint of that balsamic and some of the other ingredients that's in here. So I'm going to give this just a little taste. And that's pretty close to what I was looking for right there. And I made some of this the other day, but I really didn't measure. I just kind of eyeballed it. And you can do the same and kind of do it to taste as well. So that looks good. Now, I've got my Jeff's Texas Style Rub here, which can also be found at thinbluefoods.com. It's just a salt and pepper rub with some salt and onion, cayenne, a few things like that. Something you would find down in Texas on Texas barbecue. There's no sugar at all in this rub, so if you're looking for a no sugar rub, this is for you. Now, I'm not going to add a lot. Just going to try to keep it somewhat light if I can. And that looks good there. Maybe a little more there. As far as I'm concerned, these are ready to go on the smoker. I'm going to throw these on the smoker, but before I do, I've went ahead and brought in the grate all off of my Camp Chef Pursuit that I said we were going to use. I'm going to go ahead and try to, rather than open my smoker and leave it open for a while I place all these onto the grate, I'm going to go ahead and place them in here, and then I can just slide my grate in very quickly when I get out to the smoker. Now I'm just going to go ahead and start placing these. I'm going to stay away from the edges because I want these over, let me see if I can do this. I want these over the drip pan that's in that smoker. I want a little space between these. I don't want to do them as tight as I did when I was brining them. And fortunately, that Camp Chef Pursuit has a lower grate and an upper grate. So that's going to make it really nice. Let's call that finished for the first layer, and then we're going to put the rest of them on the second grate. And I'll do that off camera, and we'll be right back. I've placed all these lamb chops on the grates that go into the Camp Chef Pursuit. And now we're going to take them out to the smoker. I've already got the smoker fired up and going. I will be doing a review on that one eventually, but this is not a review necessarily about that smoker today. Although if you have questions about it, feel free to ask questions in the comments below if you want to. And so let's go ahead and get these out into the smoker. I'm going to do the lower grate first. So I'm going to go out here and put these on. Alright, I've got this set on high smoke, which is going to maintain 220 degrees. And so I've got the lower ones in there, and I'm going to grab the upper rack and place those in, which just slides in here. It's amazing how much room there is in this small smoker. But as you can see, I've placed foil on my drip pan, and that will help contain the mess. This is a really good smoker for if you're RVing or going camping and you have access to power, things like that. Now I've got this set on high smoke, as I mentioned, and that's going to maintain around 220 degrees, and it does a pretty good job of staying within 10-15 degrees of that. These are going to take about 30 minutes to reach medium rare, which is how we eat them here at our house. And then we're going to run over and put them on the griddle that I have on my woodwind, it's stopped raining here, and so with a little bit of luck, we'll throw those on a really hot griddle and sear both sides. And if it does start raining, we'll do that in the house on the stove on a really hot pan. So we'll see how that works out, and we'll be back here in just a little bit. It's been about 28 minutes, and I want to check the temperature on these and see where we are. And I'm using the ThermoWorks Thermapen today. I also want to see if there's a difference between the lower rack and upper rack. There could be. Showing 132, 133, so let's check the bottom here. Got one about 124 there, 128, 128. 128, so we're looking good. I'm going to turn this down to low smoke. We don't want these to cook any longer. I'm going to throw these into a pan, and we're going to go get the griddle fired up, let these rest for a few minutes. We're going to throw them on the griddle, get a good sear on both sides, and then we'll be ready to try these things out. All right, this is pretty hot. I'm going to turn it on down just a little bit. I don't want it too hot. We're usually going for about 450 or so. I'm going to use one of these to spread that oil out. I'm just going to, it's not going to take long. I got to hurry on these. Okay. Like this first one I just put on is already seared. I might want a little more than that. A little more than that. Just want a little browning on those. And once you get them the way you like them, you can just throw them back on your pan here. Looking good. Looking good. Hope I don't lose any. Try to spread out some of that oil here. Now if you don't have a griddle, you can do these in a really hot pan, like a cast iron pan over the burner. Or you could even do these over a hot grill. You could do these in the oven on broil. You just need a little sear on those. It just adds a lot. This adds a lot to the mix. Okay, now we'll turn this off. Now I will meet you guys in the house, and we'll cut into some of these and test them and see what they look like, what they taste like. So we'll be there in a little bit. Now we've brought them in. I've put foil over the top. I've let them sit here for about 10 minutes just to get a good rest. And we're going to take the foil off and pull one out and try it out. These look so good. Man, let's say that one looks really good. As you can see, we got a really good sear on both sides there. I'm going to give this thing a taste and see what it's, see if we did our job right. Let me cut this in half. I want you to be able to see the, that is so good. Really good, medium rare. Edge to edge, medium rare. Seared on the outside. So it's got just a perfect amount of flavoring, just a tiny bit salty. I can taste the pepper from the Texas rub. I can taste just a hint of that balsamic glaze on the outside. I'm telling you, this is probably better than any steak you've ever had. There's no gaminess. So if you haven't tried these, you gotta try them out. This is Jeff Phillips with SmokingMeat.com, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today as I cooked up these lamb chops from these rack of lamb that we got at Costco. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.